right?
Yep.
All right, so I guess we could start with the Chicago teams. I don't know. I'm not really following the White Sox. Where are they at standings-wise? Do they have a shot? Are they?
I know they're in third. They last I saw they were like 10 games out of the wild card.
So they're kind of at the bottom. Like they're on the outside looking in as of right now where the standings sit, essentially.
Yep.
So basically, the two Chicago teams are on opposite ends of the trade deadline. Chicago's looking to be hopefully buyers at the trade deadline. Something would have to go terribly bad here in the next week for them to be sellers. And the White Sox look like they're going to be sellers at the deadline. I don't really know. Chicago's got a few targets, but I really don't know what the White Sox have for trade chips. They have maybe Giolito. But I don't see.
As one of the key pieces for the future.
Yeah. Giolito doesn't seem like somebody that you'd get rid of at this point in time. He's young. He's talented, obviously. He's somebody who you want to build that rotation around. But the other thing is that you got to look at with Chicago is they're currently with the White Sox. They're currently 15 games back of their division, and in the wild card they're 10 games back in the wild card. But like that's obviously not unheard of. We're still 2 months out from the playoffs, and it's like they're also in a division that is known for some streaky teams. Minnesota obviously very hot this year. Don't see them cooling down for a while. But then they've got Cleveland as well in that division, and Cleveland has been known to have their second half go one or two ways. I mean, they're either going to be really good in the second half or really awful in the second half. And if Cleveland falls off, it'd be a stretch, but Chicago could still make a run at the playoffs. I don't know if you really, at 10 games out, want to just sell the whole system. But
yeah, Minnesota's been struggling recently too.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not an unwinnable division, but it's something they're going to need everybody to fall apart right now. And so, I don't know. As a front office, I don't know if that's something that you want to get rid of. Like, if you want to just rebuild, like go into full rebuild mode, or if you want to hold on to it. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Who do you think they sell? Who do you think they shoot for in the trade deadline?
I think the only big move I could see them making is something to move Jose Abreu.
MLB The Show is at the
Yeah.
Play to the West, St. Louis, Missouri, and Loveland.
Yeah.
Jack Flaherty will be on the mound.
I don't see a lot of moves that make sense for them. Sell some lower name MLB talent for just a few prospects that could potentially be good. It's weird to watch the Chicago team, because I mean, a decade ago the White Sox team was really good, and so it's weird to watch them be struggling right now. But then on the flip side, you've got the Cubs, who are sitting here and they're one game up in their division with a team that talent-wise is stacked to the point where they should be anywhere from 6 to 7 games up in their division right now, and they're just kind of floating. I mean, last night I watched the Cubs against San Fran, and they were up in the 8th inning, and then Pedro Strop, who has absolutely struggled all second half, and he came in and blew it. And I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
that's gonna be fun to watch.
this division is gonna be insane. And so like, and some names that I've heard tossed around there, obviously, are like Whit Merrifield, but like they're obviously the Royals are obviously gonna ask a lot for him because he's older, he's over 30, but he's not like out of his prime yet. So like obviously you're gonna need a lot of trade chips to a lot of big major league talent to trade him. Another couple names that are linked with the Cubs right now is Nick Castellanos. He's a big one. With Hamels out, the Cubs have been reportedly talking to the Giants and the Blue Jays in regards to Stroman and Bumgarner. I don't know. I think we're in for a very interesting trade deadline. We're definitely a new territory where we're a week out, and there still haven't really been any big blockbuster moves made. At this point, I mean, we're at a point in the season, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the biggest move was Kevin Pillar being traded, like what, five games into the season?
Yeah, the only big moves have been the Pillar trade and then Keuchel and Kimbrel signing.
Yeah, I mean, there just hasn't been a lot, and we're a week out, and so
Yeah.
that's crazy. It's one of those that like it's going to be interesting to watch. There's rumors that Russell could be on the block for the Cubs. Schwarber, which would be like it'd be a huge loss for the Cubs, but obviously you could probably get some decent return for him. It's just intriguing. Like it's an intriguing trade deadline because there's a lot of big names out there, but there hasn't been anybody who's really been going to make a move for anybody. I don't know what rumblings have you heard surrounding the trade deadline.
I the biggest question I've heard is what the Giants decide to do.
Yeah.
Nobody has a tougher job right now than Farhan Zaidi.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've finished their game today yet, but entering today they were 51-50, just out of the wild card race.
Yeah, they're playing the Cubs right now. Cubs are up 2-1 right now on a Chris Bryant single like just 5 minutes ago, I think. Yeah, they're 51-50. They're 9-1 in their last 10. They're the hottest team in baseball right now.
They've won like 15 out of 18 or something like that.
Yeah, they're the hottest team in baseball right now, and nobody saw that coming. I mean, 10 days ago, like right after the All-Star break, the Giants were like what 44-50, I think, or 44 and something like that. Yeah, I think they've lost one game.
Yeah,
since the break, and it's crazy. And then you watched Oakland come out of the break strong. They're 7-3 in their last 10. So that's a very winnable division. It's 7.5 games back. They've kind of slowed down. They've lost 2. They've dropped their last 2, but we're in an interesting point where a lot of these divisions could become really winnable that people thought were locked up. I mean, Atlanta looked like they had the East locked down for a long time there, and Washington's starting to storm back. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They've cooled off a little bit, but it looks like they could make a late season push for it. Everybody thought LA has their division locked up, and as of right now, it looks like they do at 15.5 games up of the next 2 teams, being Arizona and San Fran. But obviously, San Fran is 9-1 in their last 10. Very hot team, very scary to look out to be looking at from the top of the division. I mean, it's safe to say that they're going to at least make a run for that wild card position. They are what? I believe San Fran's 2.5 games out of the wild card. So obviously they're going to make a push for that. New York's got the American League East wrapped up, it looks like, but Boston and Tampa can both get really hot. They've kind of been sitting around everybody in that division is sitting around the 500 mark, and that's really scary for New York because if they can't kick something in gear, Boston can go on a tear, Tampa can go on a tear, and suddenly that division becomes a lot closer. I mean, do we have any real clear sellers in the National League, though? I mean, aside from Miami and New York, is there anybody in the National League who's really a clear seller?
Miami's the only team in the NL that's not within 7 games. But they don't really have much to get rid of, so I don't expect them to make any moves.
Yeah, Miami is 16 games out of the playoffs. They're the only team that's just crazy. And it's just the National League has been tough. I mean, I would have never expected. Texas is 2-8 over the last 10, and they're still only 6.5 games out of the playoffs. I mean, we've got a weird trade deadline where there's a lot of big name talent on the market, but are they going to get dealt because all these teams need these players to make these late season pushes? An interesting name that I've heard some rumblings about lately was there's rumors that Chapman wants out of his contract that he's got with New York, with the Yankees. So that's one that's like, do they deal him again?
First delivery to him on the way. And he turns this one around high and deep to center field. Going back on it. On the warning track, he makes the catch.
The only game.
Now a moment here in St. Louis.
Currently, they're the number one seed in the AL.
Who stands out?
Yeah, I wouldn't be arguably the best player on baseball.
Jeff Hoffman will get to take his first cuts here.
Yeah, I just this is one that could either a lot of big names could get dealt or everybody staying put because they're needed where they're at.
Digging in to try it again.
What are your thoughts on the Mets and the Syndergaard situation and reports that he could be dealt by the deadline?
I fully expect Syndergaard, at least Syndergaard, maybe Diaz as well.
Yeah. So those are two that I think we can both agree on will be in new uniforms come August 1st. Another name that I'm relatively certain will be in a new uniform come August 1st is Charlie Blackmon. I don't see him being a Rocky after this year.
They could certainly roll too.
He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but that contract has not suited the Rockies at all. They've made one playoff run, a playoff push with him under this new contract. To me, it seems like that's some money that if they can free it up, they can spend elsewhere in a very winnable division next year. I don't know. I think that's another NL player that couldn't find himself in a New Jersey come August 1st.
4-2 the final score
Another
tonight.
thing that
Colorado came through late, taking the lead in the eighth to secure the victory. Jeff
July 1 and
to win his second.
Yeah.
Nolan Edwards
yeah, that's gonna make it really interesting because there's not gonna be. If you're gonna make a move, you're gonna make it early. So that means this next week's about to be crazy, which means next week I'm sure there'll be a lot to talk about.
Tuesday night baseball now.
I don't know. It's just it's one of those things that like, we're sitting here and we're waiting for teams to do things, and we've never been in this position before. Because by this point in past years, somebody's made a blockbuster move, and so it's intriguing. What are the scores right now? Are there any games live right now? Rockies are getting absolutely pummeled, 11-0 by the Nationals. Blue Jays went final in 10 over the Indians with a walk-off in the bottom of the 10th. They trailed from the third on, scored in the ninth on a clutch game-time homer by Smoke. He's another one that I've heard rumors surrounding. He might get dealt. And then and Bauer was absolutely dominant. 7 2/3 innings, 9 strikeouts. Their bullpen kind of imploded in that one.
Boys, we take a look at the Rockies starting play here tonight. They've got to be considered one of, if not the hottest team in baseball right now. Winners of 8 of their last 10 ball games.
On a base hit, it looks like.
Opportunity to get a chance
the Red Sox,
on one of the best teams in baseball right now. This
despite their closer almost blowing it, won 5-4, led 5-2 into the ninth. Vasquez looks like he had a decent night. I guess he pinch hit and hit a home run to preserve this win in the 8th.
Robbie Cano had a really good night tonight. 3
home
runs. Went 4 for 4.
That's absolutely crazy.
Hit 2 of them home runs off Paddock.
That's another thing. I guess we just had the Hall of Fame induction, and it was an interesting class. Not necessarily the type of class that we're used to with star power, but there were definitely some deserving names in there. Holiday being one of them. I don't know. Did you get a chance to see his wife's speech on his behalf?
No, I haven't listened to it yet.
It's a really emotional one.
Good.
It's really emotional. Really good. Phillies are currently 2-2 with the Tigers, bottom of the ninth. Detroit's got a runner on first, 1-2 count, 2 outs. That's an interesting one.
Are they in Philly or Detroit?
They're in Detroit. So Cano,
the Twins and the Yankees.
Cano, do you think he's a Hall of Famer at this point in his career, or do we need a couple more convincing years out of him?
The biggest question around him in the Hall of Fame is going to be his PED suspension.
Yeah. And that, I mean, rightfully so, obviously. That's going to be one that's hard to do. Another thing is, does Barry Bonds get in the Hall eventually?
I think in 2021, when there's no big names like Rivera and Jeter, he'll finally get in.
One that I'd like to see is for them to lift the lifetime ban on Pete Rose, because he had that gambling issue and like it was a big deal, but like the man could play, the man could straight up play, and I feel like that the gambling shouldn't be as much of an issue as PEDs are, and it's like the fact that we have people who are potentially going to get in who have used PEDs over somebody who gambled, and that's why he's been banned from the Hall of Fame.
There's known steroid users like Mike Schmidt already in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So, like, it's one... I mean, that's something that the MLB obviously needs to look at.
Sure has been on point. Every move he makes is
I'm just kind of curious to see what they do with
starters have been on
Athletics
point.
Athletics and Astros are going to extras.
Now that's popped up.
They're 3-3 in the end of the ninth.
2 gone.
Reds are absolutely destroying the Brewers in the top of the 12 or top of the 7th. 12-5.
Here in St. Louis to
2
look
runners
at the
on, no outs.
starting lineup. What's your take as they
Reds
try to
are gonna
get
be
back
another
to their
interesting
winning
team
ways,
at the
D-Row?
Yeah, they're going to be.
You know,
I mean, they're
taking a
8
look
games
at
back
this
from
last
500,
one thing you have
but they're
to take
within
into
striking
account
distance of the
is the
division. So I
variables
mean,
that you can't control. And
they're-
that's win. It's
last I saw they were like 5 or 6 out of the
You're going to see
division.
some guys
they're
in
8
this
games
lineup
back in the
change their
division,
approach.
and
Now,
they're
if
only
you're looking
7
for that
games back from the
launch angle,
playoffs. So like.
Stepping
They're
into
not-
the
I mean,
box.
they're not far off.
McMahon. He got on top of one and was a ground out victim last time.
White Sox are 0-1, 2 outs, down 5-1 in the bottom of the ninth. I'm sure you're probably following that game. I'm not sure, but
3-2
The
pitch.
freaking Marlins again.
On the ground over to first.
that's just
To his left.
that's rough.
And
That's
he'll
rough.
step on the
I
bag
meone,
himself, and the inning is
I'm going to
over.
watch the
One
Marlins
left for
Twins
Colorado.
next week,
They're
so
down.
that should be a good one. The Twins should absolutely just mash against the
Stepping in for the
Marlins.
Cardinals, Dante Ferris. He's 0 for 1
Orioles
thus
are
far.
up against the Diamondbacks 3-2 in the top of the third, so that's one to watch.
And try to build that lead as
Orioles
much
been
as they
playing some
can
nice ball
moving into the
recently.
later
Yeah,
innings.
they have. It's a shame
They
that
took 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4 something like that against Boston.
yeah, it's a shame that they're like 20 games out of the playoffs.
Quickly, there's
But
one down to lead off the frame.
let's see, where are they at? They're
I'm no hitting
25
coach, but
25
I
games
know
out of the
they always
playoffs.
preach, if you're going to swing,
Washington's probably going to gain a game on Atlanta.
Yeah.
Ready for another
Yeah, 'cause
shot
they're-
Washington had a stretch where they were
Dante
82 and
Ferris.
10 and
No
gained
hits,
no
some
ground.
true
Atlanta
trips
did
to
the
the
same
plate
thing.
for him in the
Yeah.
ballgame.
They're 11-1 on the Rockies. Yeah, I don't see the Rockies coming back from that. Especially considering they're not in
especially
Coors.
2 out in the ninth.
Yeah, and they're not in Coors.
That'd be a heck of a 2-run rally. Or
That
2-out
would
rally.
be crazy. Rangers are tied with Mariners, top of the second.
Here's the first pitch to him. Looked like he tried to pull it there, but he swings right through the fastball.
Angels, Dodgers just kicked off. We're in the top of the second. Cardinals beat the Pirates
A ball and a
4-3.
strike to the Cardinals' first baseman.
Jays beat the Indians. And now we're back. We're scrolling back through the rest of them. Mets beat the Padres 5-2.
And it's 1-2.
I don't know that they've really got anybody talent-wise left.
They got Marte, Bell, Corey Dickerson.
Ozuna.
Yeah, I think so.
Nobody out.
They've got Archer still.
And a good bite to that slider as he swings through it for the first
out
out
of
of
the
the
bad
inning.
season. I could see them moving him.
But the other thing you got to look at there is they're currently 8 games out of the division and 7 back in the playoffs. And so, I mean, and obviously this is a division that's still winnable. The Cubs have, as much as I hate to admit it as a Cubs fan, the Cubs have just sat there and squandered every opportunity they've had to gain on people. I mean, they're 7-3 in the last 10, and the Cardinals have still managed to gain ground on them. It's just, and having dropped that last one against the Padres, and then dropping the first one in the 3-game series against the Giants has really not helped at all in that division race. It's just that Central Division. Everybody says it's going to be the toughest division in baseball, and like, yeah, it has potential to be the toughest division in baseball. But at the same time, none of the teams want to play better than 500 baseball.
And the big reason why is almost half the games in the Philippines in the league.
That's true, yeah. The only thing that's going to help Chicago, help the Cubs, is they go on a road trip here, and where they don't play anybody in the division until later in the road trip, and everybody else in the division just gets to beat up on each other for the next few weeks. So.
Well, there's no denying he was all over
got,
basketball.
I guess they've got Milwaukee and St. Louis.
Ambush. Heater gets turned around
here to wrap up the road trip, and then they have the Brewers at home, the A's at home, the Reds. Then they go to the Reds, and then they've got a really weak schedule down the stretch, which is nice. They play the Padres in September. They start off the month playing the Mariners for a 2-gamer. Then they have a 4-gamer at Milwaukee, 4-gamer at San Diego, a 3-game at home against the Pirates, 3-game at home against the Reds, 4-game at home against the Cardinals, 3-game against the Pirates at the Pirates, and 3-game against the Cardinals at the Cardinals to wrap up the season. That stretch where they play San Diego for 4 games, and then 2 series against the Reds and the Pirates both, that's going to be a very crucial series, or set of games, to put some distance in this playoff race.
Cincinnati will not play late in the season.
That's also true, yeah.
Tonight, the Colorado Rockies used a nice 5th
I think for the first time since Joe Maddon's been in Chicago, I'm actually worried as a Cubs fan that we're not, that we could potentially miss the playoffs.
His 10th. So that just about does it for Mark
last
DeRosa,
year,
Dan Plesac, Heidi Watney,
had no
and our
problem
entire
with
crew. I'm Matt Vasquez.
Yeah, I know,
You've
and
been
now
watching MLB The Show.
I mean, it's just, and it's not that the Cubs have gotten bad.
So
It's just that the division has gotten good.
Here in this one, and this man was a big.
This upcoming stretch for the Giants through the end of next month is really going to show how good they are. They got the Cubs, a 3-game set with the Padres, and 3 with the Phillies, 3 with the Rockies, 3 with the Nationals, 4 with the Phillies, 2 with Oakland, 4 with Arizona, 3 with the Cubs, 2 more with Oakland, 2 with Arizona, and then 3 in San Diego to finish out August.
Yeah.
That's a tough stretch.
That's not a fun one to have to play. The fact that they played the Cubs 6 times in a, what is it, like a 2-week span?
Let's see, they're playing the Cubs tonight and tomorrow, then they play them again August 20th, 21st, and 22nd.
So twice within a month is, I mean, that's not an easy, and especially Wrigley late in the season, not an easy place. There's really not a ballpark in that NL Central that is easy to play at late in the year. Hello? Alright, I lost something for a second there. I have no idea what happened. So apparently Mike Minor has put the New York Yankees on his no trade list. Zach Greinke is a name that has been floated out there. There's a lot of big arms that are available at this point in the season. Zobrist is expected back with the Chicago team at some point in the season. Hamels is due to make his rehab appearance. I think it was either set for tonight or tomorrow night. I don't remember. Some point by the end of the week. Contreras is due back, so that'll make the Cubs a very dangerous team. That Mike Minor putting the Yankees on his no trade list is really interesting. I don't know. I feel like that's somewhere that I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that feels like somewhere that big name pitchers would want to go, because they don't have like a really, aside from Sabathia and a couple other big names, I don't even really know who they got on their pitching staff, but they don't really have a lot on that staff, do they?
Swinging it well so far in this series. He's 3 for 9. High fly ball out to straightaway center. Tapia is in his tracks now.
And they got James Paxton,
number 2,
who's not been the best this year.
Now a moment here in St. Louis to look at the Cardinals starting lineup.
Severino should be coming back
Dan,
soon.
please, Zach.
Look at everybody looking at the guy in the 3 spot. He hit over 45 home runs last year.
Not having a bad year. He has been pretty good year this year. We got
I watched him hit some balls that you just go,
they got Tanaka. I don't really know what kind of year he's having.
He's got a shot at 50 this year if he can stay consistent.
Yeah, I don't think he's having a bad year. I mean, but he's almost guaranteed a spot on that rotation, and so like it makes you kind of wonder if there's a reasoning behind this, or if he just wants to go somewhere else.
He's feeling pretty good at the dish. Look for
Mike
him to
Minor
try and get on
provides
something,
some good veteran
drive it out of
leadership.
the yard this season.
Yeah.
Started to go around there, but he holds up ball 1.
And I mean, it's
Great
just something
job
that
to be
like
able to lay off that pitch right
that
there. You
that
could tell
confuses
the
me.
minute
That
it came
it
out of
just
his
broke
hand,
that he put them
his
on their no
eyes
trade
lit
list a
up
few
at the
minutes
plate.
ago. Mariners
On the squeeze to
lost.
shortstop,
I think it was
but
D.
to
Gordon just
retire
went
the
down tonight.
side. 1, 2, 3 go the
So
Cardinals.
that's rough. That's the
But
trade
they're
chip
up 1-0.
for them that would have brought. I mean, it would have brought some key prospects into the Seattle area.
With Mark DeRosa and Dan Plesac, Matt Vasgersian with you as Trevor Story digs
D.
in the
Gordon
right
went
side of
down
the batter's
tonight.
box to kick off the inning.
Out for a couple weeks, which means he's not eligible to be traded this year, because he will not be healthy by the
The
trade
1-2.
deadline.
Popped him up. Ferris is there.
Mariners really fell off. They started off
And that's the
great.
first
Yeah, they
down of
did.
the
They
inning.
really started off well.
So striding in, Dante Ferris.
The first baseman, Dante.
Matthew-
Matthew be scary when everybody healthy.
Yeah, they're gonna be. I mean, they've really
And
made
it looks as though
they've
the
made a
decision
huge
makers
run
in the dugout
without
will give him a
some of their
free
big
pass
power
to
guys,
first,
and that's
so the
impressive.
bases are loaded here on the intentional walk, and the force play is now in
Robbie
order.
Ray is another
the
name that
guy's
I've
been on
heard
fire
shopped out there.
Here's Ryan McMahon now.
The second baseman, Ryan
That's a name that
McMahon.
I feel like he ends up with. If he ends up anywhere, Robbie Ray, I bet he ends up in New York pitching with the Yankees.
Another
And he'll
name
take
I've
this
heard
to the
going
bag
around
himself for the
is
first
Marcus
out,
Stroman.
but it's a productive one
Yes.
as the runner moves up to third.
I don't know. What are your
I have
thoughts
no
on
doubt
him?
that he gets
Stepping
traded.
in,
This is
Dante
way
Ferris.
Yeah.
First baseman, Dante.
I just like I'm sitting here and I'm watching what the Cubs are doing, and I wouldn't mind seeing Stroman in a
He's
Cubs
ready. Here's
uniform,
the first
but
offering.
where I mean,
swing and he sends a ball
what are we going to send for him? That's the problem. And everybody's talking about, like, why isn't Chicago making any big moves? It's like, well, who do we have to trade?
He's able to put it away for the second out.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that's going to help the White Sox when they start getting good is the fact that they've got. I mean, you guys have got a lot of trade chips in that minor league system. You've got a lot of talent down there. It'll be scary once you guys get into a pennant race and are needing to trade some people away. You're going to get a lot of big names in trade just because there's going to be a lot of big names available to you with a lot of potential major leaguers being traded away.
Pitching and defense game 2-1. The final score this afternoon. The St. Louis Cardinals jumped out to an early lead in the first and never looked back. Number 62 takes the win on the mound, his second of the year, as he goes 6+ innings and allows only a pair of base hits.
Giolito's looking like this.
Wraps it up for the save, his 10th. So that just about does it for Mark DeRosa, Dan Plesac, Heidi Watkey, and our entire crew. I'm Matt Vasgersian. You've been watching MLB The Show. For more, make your way over to theshownation.com.
Our final line score this afternoon. First for the
Ronaldo
victorious
Lopez
St. Louis
was
Cardinals,
bad.
2
Cardinals were
runs,
gone.
7 hits, no errors. They left 19 runners on base. Time of the ball game, 2 hours and
Cubs linked to
minutes.
Gerard Dyson.
Our paid attendance this afternoon, 46,000. The Cardinals would like to thank you for joining us.
That's really not one that I'd like to see in Chicago.
Drive home safely.
I can't see Gerard Dyson actually doing well in Chicago.
The Rays are interested in Jesus Aguilar.
That would be crazy. That could be an interesting move there.
I don't think they really had to give up too much to get him because he was good last year, but he hasn't really had that good of a season this year.
No, and he's. The hardest part for for a lot of teams is there's a lot of teams in need of position players, and there's not a lot of position players who are really on the market. And so we have a very pitcher-heavy trade deadline, and so it's like these teams who need these big names aren't getting the players that they want, or don't have the players available that they need.
I saw the Cardinals are looking for a lefty reliever help to go alongside Andrew Miller. Pirates might be willing to trade Felipe Vasquez. That'd be a great compliment to that bullpen.
Yeah. Ken Giles reportedly could be on the move to Boston, as well as Kirby Yates. Both having absolutely incredible years out of the pen. Ken Giles in 33 innings pitched has a 1.64 ERA, 1.06 WHIP. That's a little high for him, but not bad. He's walked 10 batters while striking out 57. And then Kirby Yates in 43 innings pitches a 1.05 ERA with a .81 WHIP. Only walked 9 and struck out 70. So I mean, those are two solid bullpen arms that are on the market, and the Red Sox have active interest in both. That's a team that, if they make it into that wild card, watch out for them because they're going to be insane once they hit the playoffs.
According to Yahoo Sports, the chances of Zach Wheeler being traded are pretty high.
That wouldn't surprise me. I'm reading a CBS MLB article that states Cubs are looking at Shane Green. Over 36 innings pitched, he has an 8.6 WHIP, 11 bases on balls, and 40 strikeouts. That wouldn't be. He's rumored to be a part of the Nick Castellanos trade. that would send Pedro Strop and possibly Steve Cishek to the Tigers.
Another interesting name is Matthew Boyd. I've heard his name thrown around.
Yeah,
I heard that the Phillies are interested in him and Green.
Yeah, that could be. If the Phillies could land a couple of names like that, not necessarily Boyd and Green, but like players like that are the same caliber, I think they could go on a very scary run down the stretch. A couple other names that are being floated out there: Eric Sogard, he's very quietly batting .305, with 44 runs, 10 home runs, 30 RBIs, and 6 stolen bases. That batting average is insane as a second baseman. And that's where the Cubs need help, obviously. So, like, I wouldn't mind seeing him come to Chicago. But obviously, I'm a little bit biased. Danny Santana is playing exceptionally well, batting .320 with 45 runs, 13 home runs, 36 RBIs, and 12 stolen bases. That's a quality leadoff guy. And then Daniel Hudson, he's a relief pitcher. He really worries me, though, because he 43 innings pitched, has a 2.72 ERA out of the bullpen. That's really high for a reliever, obviously. I don't know. I've seemed to see a lot of rumors and not a lot of talk or action to follow that up.
The thing with Eric Sogard is even if you pick him up with a bench bat, he's a lefty and he can play basically anywhere in the infield.
Yeah, that's also very true. What are your thoughts on that the Cubs trading for Maldonado, sending Mike Montgomery for Martin Maldonado from the Royals? That's the one that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I think the only point in that would be as a backup, just to have behind the plate in case Contreras gets hurt again.
Yeah,
offensively, he's a career .219 hitter with 57 home runs, hitting .217 with 6 home runs this year.
Yeah. White Sox have shopped names such as Colomé, Abreu, Bummer, Fry, and Lurie. The Maldonado trade doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, unless the Cubs are looking to trade Caratini. But that also doesn't make any sense because Caratini is basically the same defensively and absolutely 100% better than Maldonado offensively. So I don't know. That could be interesting. I guess that the biggest thing to watch down this stretch is through Friday. I think we'll start to see some big blockbuster moves Saturday. So the biggest thing that we're gonna want to watch through Friday is what teams start making a move the rest of the week. San Fran is currently up 4-2 on the Cubs, so they continue their hot streak and look to continue that hot streak here.
But these teams in the hunt, who's really in the need for a first baseman? I don't think any of the AL division leaders are. Houston, New York. Maybe who does Houston have at first base?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure I know.
Might be Yuli Gurriel play first?
Yeah, I think so. He hit an inside the park homer tonight, of course.
Maybe Cleveland. I don't know who Cleveland has at first, because they have Carlos Santana, don't they? Or
yeah.
Is he their DH?
Diaz. Who's Diaz for the Astros? Oh, Aledmys Diaz is their first baseman in Houston.
Oh.
He's generally a second baseman. He's playing
plays first. Trying to think what would be a good destination for Jose Abreu.
Yeah.
Minnesota. I don't know if Minnesota really has much they can trade.
Yeah, not really.
They got some. They got some good prospects. Guys like Royce Lewis. I don't think they'd be wanting to trade Royce Lewis.
No.
I watched him in either a Futures game or the AAA All-Star game. He looked really good.
Well, I guess one thing we can watch here. I don't know if it looks like Yuli Gurriel just went down.
Oh, that's not good.
So they may be in the hunt for a first baseman.
The Yankees got first and third, one out in the seventh, down by 4. I don't know who's gonna come up though.
Yeah. Oh no, it looks like they just moved him. They just pulled him for a pinch hitter, it looks like.
Who does Boston play at first? Do they have Steve Pearce there still?
That's a good question.
Chris Sale pitched really good tonight.
Yeah, he's started to hit his stride here as of late. Sam Travis is one of their first basemen. I don't know who played there for him tonight.
Probably Mitch Moreland. I'm just looking at their roster. And the infielders they have are Bogarts, Chavez, Devers, Holt, Moreland, and Travis. That's on their active roster.
Yeah, I think their game's still going on right now. Oh no, they went final. They won.
Who'd they play?
Tampa.
That's a big one. I think it'd be a big series.
Yeah, that's a very big one for them.
I just gave Boston the.
They're one game back.
Boston, yeah, they're
one game back now. The second place and first place in that wild card. So that could be interesting.
Gary Sanchez up for the Yankees.
Moreland started the night at first, and Vasquez came in and pitch hit, and finished the night at first. So yeah, you were right. Moreland. It looks like Moreland is their full-time first baseman. Yeah, he's had 153 at bats. He's only batting .222 though, so they might be looking for an offensive first baseman, a more offensive first baseman. He's got a career .250 batting average. He doesn't hit for a lot of power.
The weekend is on deck, and
he's just kind of
baseball from Petco Park in San Diego's Gaslamp District. Tonight, the
first of the score there?
Weekend series.
The
St.
9-5.
Cardinals
Minnesota heading in the bottom of the 7th.
digging in, Dante Ferris, the American League's Silver Slugger Award winner at first base a season ago.
This Cubs team really bothers me. Because, I mean, they're obviously
from the stretch,
very talented team,
line
but they just sit here
left center.
and they'll get on a hot streak, and then they'll cool off, and they'll all fall apart.
Hold up.
And they're able to get the ball in quickly, so
And it's
he'll be
just,
held to a
it
single
makes everything
with
close in that division. Another one that we really want to watch, another series or division race that is probably going to be a lot closer than people suspect, is that the East Division. I think Washington makes a run at it. Atlanta's 5-5 in their last 10. So, and Washington after tonight will be a game or 4.5 games back of first.
The only team playing better right now than Washington is San Francisco.
Yeah. Which is crazy to think, because neither one of these teams are supposed to be good at all at the beginning of the season, and all of a sudden here they are.
Next to the plate for the Padres, Rafael Veras.
A lot of
drove in the
people
other
predicted
two
Washington
runs in that game yesterday.
not be bad, but
Ground ball to second. This
a lot of
could be
people were
two.
expecting them
The second for one.
to
On
be
to
in
first
the
to
wild
complete
card
the double
run.
play.
Actually leading the wild card just like this season.
Yeah, no.
With a moment here in downtown San Diego, we'll look at the Padres starting lineup. Who's the one to watch?
The Giants started out really slow,
Plate, Dante,
and
you'll go to work trying to do something.
it's one of those things, like, if to the playoff hunt,
First pitch
that's
of the
insane.
at-bat.
Because,
Hard
I
line
mean,
to
if you
center
would have told
field.
me even 3 weeks ago
Is there, and he has it for
that the
first
Giants
down.
were going to be this close to a potential playoff spot come August.
Jumped all
I mean, they're
over
2.5
that
games
first
back
pitch
of a
hitting,
playoff
and
spot.
he didn't miss it. Just wasn't
And
able to
3 weeks ago, they were what? 10 and I think
Leading
like
off
10 or
the
11
inning,
games
Hunter
back in
Renfroe
that
has
second
looked
wild
to
card.
get something
And now they're
going
2.5
here
games
in this
down.
game up.
It was not, like, it was bad.
2-2.
Bumgarner was for sure gone. Pilar could have potentially been on the move again.
And a step on first himself for the out.
There were all sorts of names being shopped out there, and now all of a sudden
And we'll see what he can do here.
they're back into it. They're looking to win the series against the Cubs tonight. I mean, it's just Crawford was rumored out there. Dickerson was rumored to be on the trading block. Posey could potentially have gotten traded. I mean, they were ready to just empty house and
looking to keep this
look towards the future, and now they're back in the playoff hunt.
Fly ball headed for the left field corner. If it stays fair, it's gone. But this one will bend foul. Had plenty
I
of
didn't know I
distance
expected
though as it
Washington
landed in
to
the
be ahead
upper
of
deck.
Philadelphia.
No, not at all. I would have. Did you say you
Ready
did or
with the
didn't?
0-1.
I didn't.
Another one fouled off.
I mean, I would have never figured.
Fifth inning.
I would have figured they would have been the Mets at this point. Kind of just sitting there floating at the bottom, still within striking distance, but needing to go on a big run to get back into it. But to be 4.5 games back in the division
San Diego batting order turns
at this
over
point in the season where it's very attainable.
Irizarry.
I mean, and the Phillies are just underperformed.
Yeah.
Just plain and
They have a
simple.
ton of talent.
From the stretch.
And
They're one of the most talented teams in the
Round to
league.
second base.
part of that's
This
to
could be
blame.
two.
Part of
One
that
there.
is
On to
due to the
first, and they
McCutcheon
turn the double
injury,
play.
and like that was obviously devastating. But they were underperforming even before he went down.
Yeah.
Really good pitch from the pitcher.
I just,
Digging in now for San Diego.
I don't know.
Hunter Renfroe, as he'll look to bring home that tying run.
it's going to be an
Second with
interesting.
a
I
base
think
hit into the
next week
outfield.
we're going to have a lot more to talk about than we did this week.
Hit on the ground
For sure.
on the first baseline.
But
And he'll
I
step
just
on
there's
the
a
bag
lot of
himself,
teams
and the
in
inning
this
is
division or
over.
in the
One left for San Diego.
National
They
League,
still trail it
especially,
here 2-1.
who are just underperforming, and a lot of teams who are performing way above expectations. And so, I mean, it's going to make the trade deadline very interesting.
Stepping up to the plate,
I think we
Dante
start. I think
Ferris.
at the latest we
A
start
new
to see
pitcher
moves
waiting
being made
for him as we
Thursday
begin
night
their
into
top of
Friday
the
morning.
eighth.
Another big surprise has been Oakland. Yeah, I know they won 97
offering
games
on its
last year,
way.
but I didn't expect them to come out and be put in game.
There's a line drive base hit to
This late in
left
the season.
field.
No, not
So
at
the
all.
inning's
I was
underway with the
incredibly
Cardinals
shocked by
getting their
them.
leadoff
I figured
hitter
they'd
on
come back
base.
down to earth. They were a young team
That's
last
what we
year.
refer to in
To
the biz.
everybody, like the word that was going around was, did somebody forget to tell the team they're not supposed to be good yet? I mean, because they weren't supposed to be good yet. and I figured they'd come back down to earth a little bit, maybe win 90 games this year, maybe squeak into the playoffs. But they're looking like they could potentially win their division if they go on a hot enough streak here. And if not, they're at least going to make it
that's what you want to do
into the playoffs on a wild card. So
they're in the second wild card right now.
Yeah, and I don't see them losing that. I don't see them losing that. If anything, who's the number one in that division? Is that Cleveland? And Cleveland has been playing really poorly as of late. So I could see them falling out of it. But I don't see. I honestly do not see Oakland losing that wild card at this point. And Oakland has proven time and time again that if they get to the playoffs, they're a very dangerous team.
Silver Slugger Award winner at first base a season
ago. Especially this year, Cleveland has been a very streaky team.
Yeah.
The swinging Friars as they take the field here tonight. They come in playing reasonably well of late, though they have dropped their last 2 in a row.
It's going to be an interesting stretch here.
You have to find a way to be a little bit realistic.
I think the thing that's really going to decide the playoffs in the American League is, can Minnesota stay hot? If Minnesota stays hot, the playoff picture basically stays where it's at. With Cleveland and Oakland being the 1 and 2 in the wild card, Tampa and Boston having really good years but barely missing out on the playoffs, and Houston, Minnesota, and New York winning their divisions.
Well, it's very early, but he's looked out of sorts from
the
the beginning.
big question in the AL is going to be whether
that'll bring up the versatile Max Muncy, and he's a guy looking to break out in a big way.
Yeah.
Hasn't been getting the results he
I don't know if Minnesota has the pitching
Wong for one
to be either one team from Philadelphia in the 5 games.
I think the question at this point in the season is pretty obvious, but it comes down to who does LA play in the World Series? Because I don't see, I mean, at this point in the season, and like, feel free to correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I don't see anybody else coming out of the National League that could potentially beat LA.
First offering on its way.
Atlanta has
out toward right field.
Some good bats. I don't think they have enough pitching.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, Ryu has been absolutely insane this year.
Into the box
Kershaw is going to be Kershaw. There's no worry about that. What?
Kershaw himself. Bueller's been very good.
Yeah. Hill will figure it out in the playoffs like he always does. He always struggles through the regular season and figures it out in the playoffs. I mean, they're going to be a dominant pitching staff. Yeah, he's been off and on the IL all season. It's a solid pitching staff. It's not going anywhere. And Kenley Jansen is still as clutch of a closer as he's ever been.
Pretty good at the dish. Look for him to try and get on
something. He hasn't had the dominant season he's had in the past. All it takes is a stretch of 5 of 5, 7 of 7 playoff saves, and he's right back to the dominant position.
Yeah. I'm intrigued to see what some of these teams in the East can do if they get some players back from injury.
Swung on and missed 0-1.
That's just
the West
right
is
there. Great execution.
I don't see.
He just got that hitter to think that pitch was
I don't
knee-high.
see
Nasty diving out of
anything
the
really
zone.
changing there.
I think the one thing that will really push the Dodgers over the
7
top,
runs,
give
8
them a
hits,
true shot at the
and
World
no
Series,
errors so far for the Redbirds.
and then another reliever.
A ball in
They
the
need
center
somebody
to
to
the
go
Cardinals'
along
first
with
baseman.
Kelly and Jansen. Somebody like Brad Hand or Will
Yeah.
Smith from the Giants.
Yeah, that would be a huge one. Or any of the, there's what, 3 coming out of Toronto that could potentially go be in a new uniform by the end of the trade deadline. I think if they pick up any of those 3, Shane Green's still a possibility for LA. I mean, anybody who is a dominant reliever at this point that ends up in LA puts them over the top, and I think they win the World Series.
Or even a good starter to move somebody like Strickland to the
on that one. And
Yeah.
we'll see if he tries to
Really, in
change
the
something.
playoffs, you don't need all 5 starters. The Dodgers could get by with Kershaw, Ryu, Maeda, and Bueller.
It was a flyout for him in his last trip.
And they'd be absolutely perfectly fine. And that's the one thing. Ryu wasn't supposed to be really. I mean, he was supposed to be like a spot starter, but he wasn't supposed to be a permanent part of the rotation this year, with the reports I'm hearing. And yet, he pitched an insane series, got himself a. He got himself was he the starting pitcher in the All-Star game, or was he just did he just get an All-Star bid?
A fine Sunday afternoon for baseball at Petco Park. Today, the finale of this three-game.
It might have been him.
Stepping up now, Dante Ferris.
Yeah, so I mean, it could be
series 3 for 10.
It could be a really interesting playoffs, or it could be a very predictable one, depending on what the trade deadline does.
Kenta Maeda, he's not having a bad year. He's not really. Not a bad year, not having great years. He gets no recognition with having the other three guys ahead of him on staff.
Yeah. In this one, behind the plate
that's all.
371 is a little high. He's striking out 9 guys per 9 innings.
Batters, managers.
Yeah.
All you want as a player is the ability to talk to someone. And that
there's a swing and a drive,
and
everybody's just going to sit back and watch that one fly.
He's not a bad. He's not having a bad year at all. Nobody on their staff's really having a bad year. There've been a couple of people, like the big analysts saying that Kershaw's been having an off year for Kershaw, but at the same time, like, what really is an off year for Kershaw?
We heard this guy's a good fastball hitter.
Kershaw started out slow, and he's pitched really good.
We'll see if they pitch him a little bit differently this time and mix in some off-speed pitches.
An off year for Kershaw is, I mean, somebody like Justin Verlander would kill to have one of Kershaw's off years.
Anybody'd love to have an off year and have a 2.84 ERA.
Yeah.
With an 8-2 record.
And let that be their off year. I mean, that's just insane. Nobody's done what he's done consistently. I mean, everybody talks about how he's not necessarily the most dominant pitcher of the last decade because he hasn't been the best pitcher of every season in the last decade. And it's like, I get that he hasn't been the best pitcher every year. He's been like 2 or 3, but he's consistently 2 or 3. Whereas those guys who have, like the year Arrieta had that really low ERA and won the Cy Young, he hasn't been the same since that season. So I mean, all these guys who are doing all this, they're then struggling the next season and the seasons after that. And Kershaw is just consistently Kershaw.
Yeah, he's with the league in ERA 5 times in the last 9 years. Plus he had a year of 2.13 and a 1.69. He didn't lead the league.
This is on the ground over to first. And a step on first himself for the
it's insane. He's doing some absolutely incredible things as a pitcher. At this point in his career, I mean, he's still young. He's still got, figure 3 or 4 or 5 more solid years in him. And he's a lock for the Hall of Fame now.
What is he? He's been in the league for 12 years.
First pitch of the at-bat.
I want to say he's 34. 31. Holy crap. He's been in the league for 12 years?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, this is his 12th year. He debuted in May 2008.
It was a single for him in his last
He's only 31. That means he started his career as a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
You got to think about that. And this guy's consistently the best, or one of the top 3 pitchers in the league. And he started as a 19-year-old.
So no runs here.
That's just, I mean, that's unheard of in today's age of baseball. So I think he's a lock for the majors. So that means he's got at least another 5 years in him where he is in his prime. After the 36 year, or after the 36th season,
I don't think he even concerns himself with that. He has to put
he posted 240 at the worst ERA. in his age 37.
I'll probably be pushing for 3,000 strikeouts in a few years too.
Yeah,
he's closing on 400.
Well, these guys feel pretty good about themselves.
I've heard a lot of people ask if we'll ever see another 4,000 strikeout pitcher, and I think our best opportunity to see that, because the last one was Randy Johnson, and I think our best opportunity to see another 4,000 strikeout pitcher is Clayton Kershaw. I think that's honestly our best bet.
Either him or Max Scherzer.
Yeah. I mean, both of them absolutely premier talents. Both of them, if they retire roughly around the same time, I bet they're both first ballot Hall of Famers on the same ballot.
I'm sure there's a few years older than Kershaw. He's 34. He'll be 37, or not 37, 35 here in a few days.
Another thing that's a question about Kershaw is he worried about his reputation? Does he retire on top of the game, or does he pitch until he can't pitch anymore?
See, that's the problem. You don't want to retire too young. Retire when you're on top. You don't want to hang around too long.
Yeah.
And retire when you're not productive.
Yeah, because you don't want that to be what everybody remembers about you. I mean, if you think about it, take Carlos Zambrano, for example. He was not a bad pitcher, but he pitched way too long. And everybody knew that. And on the opposite end of things, let me think of one. Who's a pitcher that kind of retired too soon that could have gone a little farther?
He's not a pitcher, but David Ortiz.
Yeah.
Could have definitely hung around a few more years.
Yeah, win yourself another title.
Year,
I mean,
he hit 38 home runs, 38 home runs, 6 in the MVP voting.
Yeah. I mean, and he retired, what, 2 years before their World Series?
Yeah, he last played in 2016.
That's right, because he retired, his retirement, his, like, year-long retirement party was the same year that the Cubs were going on their rampage through the MLB. That's another thing. Did you watch the All-Star game?
I watched most of it.
Did you hear all that, like, when Cubs players would come up, like, especially when they're doing the announcements, every time, like, Javi or Chris stepped on the field, instant boost. I was like, we have a fan base who's still salty.
Cleveland, weren't they?
Yeah, I was like, we have a fan base who's still salty about losing a World Series. I thought it was hilarious.
Yankees got 2-1, no out in the 8th, down 4 with Tauchman up to the plate. And they got the top of their order up.
That could be interesting.
On second and third. Chris Paddock didn't really have a great of a night tonight. 5 innings, 3 runs, 2 walks.
He's struggled his last few starts.
Jason Vargas threw 6 innings off 1 hit, but walked 4.
Holy crap. It's just... Who are they playing?
Is that ball gone? Who?
The Yankees.
Twins. Tauchman just hit one off the wall, and both runners scored. Now 9-7, I believe.
Oh boy, that game could get real interesting.
No, only 1 run scored. They got second and third. The guy who started on second had to hold because he was sure the ball was going to be caught.
Yeah.
I'm guessing maybe LeMahieu coming up next.
You know it's been a bad day in San Fran when the Cubs' only highlight is Darvish striking out Madison Bumgarner.
The Tigers and the Phillies are in the 12th, tied at 2.
Just at the 13th, right? Just finished the 12th?
No, I think they're still in the bottom of the 12th.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw somewhere that they hit 13.
Unless the bottom line on MLB Network's a bit behind. But Aaron Hicks is up now for the Yankees.
A's held on to win against the Astros.
Yeah, I saw that.
They just went final.
Yeah, and ESPN Apps is into the 11th with no out. Oh, yeah, Philadelphia and Detroit are in the 13th. Baltimore's up 7-2 in Arizona in the 5th.
MLB Network's coverage of Major League Baseball is on the air. A good one on tap for you this afternoon between the Kansas City Royals and the Boston Red Sox. Looking forward to this matchup, and it's next on MLB Network.
It's Atlanta. Keuchel struck out 12 in 6 innings.
Keuchel's starting to look a lot more like
Chris
himself.
Sale, a left-handed Floridian, will get the starting assignment. What's your take on him,
Cy
Dan?
Young year.
Hey, when you look at the definition of rock solid for a starting
that's
pitcher,
something.
this
That's
is
what
your
the
kind of guy. Career
Braves
ERA
need.
under 3, just knows how to get it done.
My
Controls
MLB
the
went
running
into.
game, limits the
I've
amount
been
of
looking at
damage,
all the
and more
scores. My
importantly,
MLB went into the
knows how to
simulation
win,
game.
and that's why it's going to be fun to watch him work in this
got
one here today.
Now with the plate, Alberto
Royals
Mondesi,
versus
and we are ready
Red
for
Sox
some daytime baseball.
At Fenway.
First pitch on its way. And we are
They go with
underway from
Dynasty
Fenway as
or
the first
something.
pitch is taken for ball 1.
First pitch, 105.
And then the Sony partners have been
Now the 1-0
dropping hints. Do you think it's
is swung on
at this
and
point we're
missed,
certain
strike
it's Tulowitzki, right?
Very nice afternoon, high skies and 77
It's
degrees
that next
at game
drop.
time.
The or did they already drop it? What?
Yeah, him and shoot. Him and someone else came out yesterday.
1-2 the count to the Royals shortstop.
That's
that
great.
is Ty Cobb, 99.
What are your thoughts
Ty Cobb
on does he?
On a nice changeup that
I
time
haven't really
gets him
looked
to
at him.
swing right through it
Great
as the leadoff
contact
man
and
is down
speed,
on strikes to
as
open up the
expected.
ball game. A chance now for a look at the Royals starting lineup. Who do you have your eye on, Dan?
Well, Matt, Alberto
What are your thoughts
Mondesi,
on?
what
We'll
an
wrap it off with
exciting
that.
young player. This guy has
With this
world-class
topic.
speed,
What are your
guys.
thoughts
He can
on
fly.
the
I love watching him
content
run. So if you
to
like
gameplay?
watching a guy take over a game with his
Like
legs,
what they've done with
he's your
content,
guy.
and do you think gameplay has suffered due to it, or do you think they've done what they need to do to keep content and gameplay rather consistent?
I haven't really played as much as some of the other people have, so I haven't really noticed a ton of problems with gameplay. Yeah, I line out some, but that happens. Like, I don't get all the frustration coming from people.
Yeah, my honest opinion is they gave us what we were asking for last year. Last year we came into the game and we're like, gameplay is too unrealistic. I'm just pounding the ball every other pitch, and it's just, I mean, it's not the game that we wanted, and there wasn't nearly the content last year. And this year they made the game more realistic, and content is so much better, and people are still complaining. I mean, we're at a point where I feel like it's just people complaining because they need something to complain about.
Really, my biggest complaint gameplay-wise has been the inability of catchers to block pitches.
Yes.
It doesn't matter who I put behind the plate, they can't block the pitch. I mean,
I
I've had
had
99 pledge for probably 2 months. And
yeah, same.
there's so
I've
many
had
runs.
I've had him for I think 3 weeks now. I've played probably 3 or 4 dozen games with him, and each game at least one pitch gets past him. And it's just, I mean, he's not letting that happen. That's just that wouldn't happen in real life. And so, like, the catcher's not being able to block pitches, that's one thing. But, like, other than that, I mean, you're going to square up balls that are going to go straight to the center fielder. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't think there's any issues with it.
The Signature Series packs are coming back out Thursday, and they've already announced that Ozzie Smith's going to be in it. I don't know what overall or what tier he's going to be in it, though.
Yeah.
That's going to be another great contact defensive shortstop like Omar Vizquel.
Yeah. I just
Judge is up now. 1 out, second and third.
is it what inning is it in?
Top 8.
That's crazy.
That one's
5
deep.
minutes ago. What?
Gone? No, it hit off the top of the wall. 200 run score. 1-run game.
That's 2 straight that have almost gone out. Oh man.
After Talkman, Aaron Hicks struck out, then Judge was up. I wasn't really paying attention when Hicks was up. Yeah. Yankees got Aaron the tying run and Judge on second with one out in the eighth. That ball was so close to being gone too. Parker hung a breaking ball and Judge didn't miss. So even Strasburg's having a very good year this year too.
Yeah, he has been. That was one that kind of surprised me.
Foot away from being gone.
I figured he'd be decent. I didn't think he was gonna have the year that he's had.
He's like 13-4.
Yeah, he's been insane. Okay, so I guess I was wrong. There's been two really big moves since the beginning of this season, and they both happened decently early. The Encarnacion trade was just recently, but I mean it was early.
About that.
It was earlier than anyone expected. That was one that really kind of surprised me. I didn't think the Mariners were at clean house mode yet. And then they announced that literally everybody on their lineup, short of like I think a handful of players, were available. And so that kind of surprised me.
The Mariners aren't going to be able to build a team if they keep trading everybody.
Yeah, I know. They do this every year, where they start out hot, they go through a rough beginning to the summer, and then they just call it quits. And so, I don't know. It's the Mariners' system in general is just broken. I feel like. I think it's time for them to sell and get new ownership in there. I don't think they're gonna be good until they do. But I guess
playoffs since like 2001 or something like that.
Yeah, they've struggled for a long time. It's time to just clean house in that front office and try again.
I don't know what's taking this Reds game so long. They've been in the top of the ninth for a good 15 minutes.
Robbie Ray expected to be traded to the Yankees. Bauer, Boyd, and Aguilar, all three available. That's recent rumors. I'm just seeing.
Aguilar could be a nice bench bat.
Yeah.
Cubs are down 4-2 in the top of the seventh.
Yeah, I'm not watching that game anymore. I'm over it.
Encarnacion's up now for the Yankees. You got a double, a walk, a single, and 2 runs tonight. Angels are up 1-0 after 3 against the Dodgers. Angels, they got 2 games left. I think tonight.
No, you're all right. Just wanted to make sure I didn't lose you there.
Angels got tonight and tomorrow left against the Dodgers. 4 games this year. The Angels took the first 2, looking to win the season series tonight.
That would be crazy.
How did Toronto win?
Could you imagine if they swept the LA series?
That'd be very surprising. Justin Smoke hit a home run and then a walk-off tonight.
Well, he's at least making it.
Too.
Yeah, he's at least making an effort to make it easier for the. He's a Blue Jay, right?
He's a switch hitter. Yeah, he's a switch hitter and he got some pop.
He plays center.
First.
Yeah,
I think he's played some corner outfield some in his career too. Not a bunch.
He could be a DH for some teams.
Yeah. Somebody like Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, we've definitely got a lot to. Did he? Victor Caratini singles in the top of the 7th. Hayward scored. Cubs are now down 4-3 in the top of the 7th.
We just crushed that ball with his foul.
We've definitely got a lot to talk about. Well, we should have a lot to talk about next week. Like I said, this will be posted by Friday. I think that's about all we've got to talk about this week. Obviously, the trade deadline is about to heat up here, so we'll have more to talk about next week. But I think with that, we've about wrapped this up. So